Welcome to Lift Your Leg. This is Monique Anstey from Naughty Dog in Victoria, BC, author of As a Dog Thinketh.
And Jill Brown from Calgary, Alberta, the Bag Lady.
Today we are talking about, our topic of today is not just the dog must change. And it's been my theme of the last couple of weeks, which is why we're discussing it today.
You have quite a few dogs with you right now that you're having to practice that with.
I have. And I think at one point it actually might be easy to go through them one by one to understand what I'm meaning by this. And as we're saying, not just the dog must change. Of course, the dog must change, but really does responsibility solely belong to the dog. Everything we do is a partnership. It's a relationship. So they change. You must change with them.
That's how you achieve harmony in your pack, family, whatever you want to call it.
Yep, it's a partnership. If you have a problem, you both have to change to address the problem. We shouldn't just be relying on the dog. And what I'm seeing right now, which is thus the podcast, is I'm working with 3 dogs, and all of them believed it was the dog alone. And 2 were off to the races, but the third one, that we're making no change as of yet, because the person just, I don't think person's realizing her connection in this picture and her maintaining all of the behavior. Until she rises to the occasion, she can't expect her dog to do 100% of it.
Depending on the individual dogs, sometimes there's only so much they can do. There's only so much they can change from who they are at a base level. Owner to do the rest.
I totally agree. And attached to that, it does depend on how much work ethic is in your dog. If there's a large amount of work ethic, we can call on to that and expect them to take a big piece of the responsibility. If there is no work ethic, then it's more shared. But even as I say that about work ethic, then it can come down to you may need to be stronger to be able to manage the dog you have, depending on the breed. Maybe it's still equal right there. Where I was going to say with the ferals, it's different, but even with the ferals, I think we have to compromise and change how we even think about them. It doesn't matter what your issue is that you're working through. The result is going to come through changing the dog and then changing yourself. Both have to happen together. Otherwise, the dog's just going to revert right back. The cowboys years ago said, horses make us better people. So I'm changing that just to say dogs make us better people. And that we get a dog and we're going to learn the lesson that we need to learn with that dog. My puppy of this week was a puppy that won't sleep. So her poor person was so sleep deprived. And in the case of this puppy, what had happened was, my belief anyhow, I wasn't there in their house and all the rest of it. But I think sometimes when we're educated and we know what we're doing, there's so much pressure now to have the perfect dog. So you get your puppy and you do everything right as you're being told. So there's so much obedience and learning going on. And we forget to have fun. We remember their puppies. And that was what had happened in the case of this one. So I just let her be a puppy. I had fun with her. We played silly games. We'd stop and cuddle. And the dog went back and is now sleeping. So in that case, the dog just needed her to be more fun. So even though I fixed the puppy while I was here, nothing was going to change unless she let go of the obedience that she was teaching and had fun with her puppy and just treated her puppy like a puppy. Once she did that, they were off to the races. Like, we must change with our puppies or any of our dogs. We can't expect the soul work to be on them.
True. You said you had 3. Who was the third one?
It's an adult dog I currently have who is a handful. He's aloof with people. He doesn't love strangers. He doesn't love other dogs. He doesn't really love his people either. So he's a handful of a dog. But I can get him to a point, like a much better place. He goes home, he comes back worse. And in the case of him, his person is so the opposite of me. She doesn't demand anything, she doesn't expect anything, and you can fling crap at her and she just lets it roll off her shoulders and keeps smiling and moves on. So she's like that with her dog. So he just keeps flinging more and more at her. But when he's with her, he almost keeps looking for that boundary. If she's walking towards a person, she can't look them in the eyes. She looks at the ground. And as soon as she looks at the ground, they'll nudge at that person. But it needs to be a casual look at that person of just good morning and then continue on. But she can't. She has to look away. And it's that moment that she looks away, he will then finish the job for her. But it's almost like he has this awareness of what a walking victim she is. And by that, I mean that if I was to commit a crime against a person, I'm picking her. Not only would she let me take her wallet, but she'd probably ask me if that was enough and apologize because she spent most of her cash this week. She's that nice. So he's just covering for her.
Interesting. So she's got to get a little tougher and he's got to get a little softer to meet in the middle.
Exactly. But it's everything about her. I need to change her posture. I need to change how she carries herself. I need to change her eye contact and where she's looking. And I need to put a fire in her that says enough is enough, where she has a boundary. She has no boundaries. And he's trying to teach her a boundary. But so far, him and I have failed. So what lessons have your dogs taught you, Jill?
Oh my goodness. I think the biggest lesson that I was taught years ago was to lighten up with them, not be so concerned about what other people might think when I'm being silly with them. That made a huge difference in one of my dogs when I just got to the point that I could goof around and enjoy her.
What were you seeing before you lightened up?
Less willingness to do what I was asking, a lot more
Yep.
worry. This isn't Sizzle, this was even before her. But yeah, just some issues where they were worrying about a lot of stuff in training. And when I started to make it more fun, she rose to the occasion. Definitely with Sizzle, I had to learn to not be so worried about what other people might think. Again, same thing, but in a different aspect with her. But yeah, I stopped micromanaging. The biggest thing was just letting them learn to be a dog, not being on them for everything they picked up. I wasn't running to grab it out of their mouth. Doing things that you think are right or safe for your dogs can really come back to bite you.
So you said something there, and it's something we always speak about. But what was the damage you were doing when you were micromanaging, or what is the difference you saw once you stopped micromanaging?
I wasn't so much micromanaging with the first dog. I just wasn't having fun. I had my recipe of what I needed to do in training, and that's what I was doing. And she was just like, this is dumb. I'm not putting that effort in. But with Sizzle, I just saw her totally lighten up. When I stopped being so worried about everything around her or what people might think or see, she did too.
Yeah.
When I lightened up, she did exactly the same thing and started
Yeah.
being silly, just enjoying life more. And our relationship improved immensely because
Yeah.
I wasn't always on her about everything. And by on her, I just mean we'd be out for a run, and the minute she went out of sight, I'd be calling her back. Or if she stopped to sniff at something, she'd be told to leave it because it might be something bad. This was, I was just always, I was always looking out for her and not letting her look out for herself.
Yes. So when you stopped doing that, you saw more confidence and more ease in her.
Totally. Yep.
What's my lesson that Harry is teaching me? I know what it
Patience.
is, but
Patience, my ass, patience.
I guess it's patience in some way because I'm really struggling to fix an issue I have with him.
Mm-hmm.
And that is requiring a lot of thinking outside the box and not giving up.
Yep. Perseverance.
But I think I had all of that, though. I'm going to say with Harry, getting my young Malinois, and I'm coming off of Reggie, who was my last competition dog, who was a real handful and I struggled with control. So with Harry, I was determined I wouldn't lose control. And I think I was harder on him than I needed to be.
But it was a legit concern.
Absolutely. And I'm not even going to say harder on him than I need to be. I controlled him more than I needed to. But I thought I would. When you have a young male, you're always thinking 2 years down the road of, have I enough control today at 6 months old that it's going to last me for when he's 2 years old and he becomes a real man? And so I did my puppy exercises where I'm teaching him control. But there's a very delicate balance of it's the Goldilocks amount. You want just the right amount. Too much control will stifle them. Too little control is going to leave you just slightly behind the 8 ball, always chasing it, trying to get control.
Yeah.
But just the right amount is the sweet spot of where you need to be. And with Harry coming off of Johnny and Reggie, I did just a bit too much. So I think that's a piece of it, of where I'm struggling. But the other part of that is I'm also 10 years older than when I had my last dog. 10 years ago, I had a whole lot more energy than I have now. And I think Harry has also been the recipient of that because I'm less fit, I'm less muscular, I have less energy now than I did 10 years ago.
You have more
So
aches
I'm
and
a bit
pains.
lazier. Yeah, I'm a bit lazier. And so is Harry, because I think he's a little bit of my mirror image. Harry is making me get back more active to get that same activity and extra work out of him. That I think is the big challenge I'm having, or the big lesson I'm having with Harry, is I got lazy without realizing I had gotten lazy.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd even call it lazy. You got older.
I got lazy in my work, but I think as I look around everyone around me here that I'm training with, I'm then them times 50 when they're out there with their dog. But I also think some of their behavior has rubbed off on me. It's not until I went to Germany, I'm like, holy crap, what happened to me? That I realized how little I was putting in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always humbling to go do that. So I think that's why I have struggled getting maximum out of Harry, is because I wasn't giving maximum to Harry.
Yeah.
And I had to realize that.
There's that sweet spot that you speak of in every dog.
Yeah.
It's obviously it's something that's probably more required in a Malinois than it is in a Golden, but you still want to be looking for that. There's that word, that balance.
I think it's different what I need in a Malinois versus a Golden. Because if I have a high drive field Golden that I'm doing field trials with, I still need to have that control.
Yep.
And I still need to teach it at 6 months, like in that area there. And I'm not talking adult control, like the actual lessons of adult work, but I'm talking about I need to instill our relationship at that point of struggling for words here. There's a certain age you need to make a certain impression so that as they then mature and hit puberty and the dog gets stronger and stronger mentally, by the time he's 3 years old, he still cares what I think. And
Yep.
those lessons need to be taught at 6 months old, 6 months, 8 months in there. And if you miss that kind of young age, it's really hard to get it after that point.
Yep. Agree.
I think you still need to do those same lessons with any of the working dogs and probably a lot of the pets too. All dogs need it. If it's lazy Rupert, he's going to need way less than what my high drive Golden is going to need, or what my high drive Border Collie is going to need, or my high drive Malinois. It's just different.
Totally different levels depending on the dog and the breed.
Yep.
Rupert, you need to have control when you tell him to go up the stairs, and he says no.
No, because Rupert, when he hit about 8 months old, I built his confidence, and that took time. And then I remember at 8 months old, he started getting all stiff with his tail straight up and growling at dogs on walks, like he was ready to scrap them. So he still needed it in his own Rupert way. Rupert could be he's a Basset. Of course, he could be a little bit of a handful. It's just very slow and sloth as he does it. It's wonderful.
Exactly.
It's so nice having these delightful pet dogs once in a while. They do something naughty and you just giggle. Like, it's really funny.
Yep.
Very different than if a Malinois does something naughty.
Then
Then you just cry.
you have to start making your next plan of how you deal with it.
And what lessons has Prada taught you?
Oh, Prada's taught me how to snuggle really well. She's taught me to be patient with her laying on my head.
I think you were born with those, Jill. What do you actually need to learn from this dog? Rather than what have you created in this dog?
I mean, what I need to learn from this dog is still happening. Because honestly, I've just
Are
enjoyed
you aware of the lesson at least, though?
Yes, very much.
And what is the lesson?
I've come to realize that she comes across as just being a really sweet snuggler. There's a lot of dog there. And she can be a bit of a manipulator. I have to push her more than I would have to with some of my previous Goldens.
Yep. Prada is strong mentally. And by strong mentally, stable. She's very solid in the world, solid in who she is as a dog. She's a clear thinker. And if you're looking for a really flashy obedience dog, normally we're looking for a dog that's not a fully clear thinker, because it's that little bit of that they have in the back of their mind. That's what makes them flashy. So when we're seeking out competition dogs, you maybe don't want the most solid, the most stable, because it's a little bit of worry, but I'm talking a tiny bit of worry. That's what gives you flash. So Prada isn't flashy because she's so stable in her head. Harry's not flashy either because he's so stable in his head. But Harry is now powerful.
Yeah.
And I'll take that in his work. And is Prada powerful? I'm asking you rather than answering this for you.
When she puts her effort into it, then I would say yes.
But so you're still struggling a little?
Yeah, a little bit. Definitely not as much as I used to.
No.
And when you were talking about looking for an obedience dog and getting a little bit of instability gives you the flash, that also gives you the dog's extreme desire to be with you and to please you. And while Prada's happy to make me happy, it's not an absolute need. Whereas the dogs I've had in the past that are a little bit less stable, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
They need to make me happy. So
yes.
It's a different journey for sure.
I picked Prada, and I picked Prada somewhat like Harry, and we both ended up with very similar dogs, like very stable, bomb-proof dogs. Harry would make an excellent police dog. Prada would make an excellent service dog. They're both just truly bomb-proof, happy with life no matter what. For your next dog, would you pick as stable?
It's a real hard question to answer because it would depend on what I was looking for. If I was looking for a competition dog, I would probably look for a little bit of that. I'm going to say edge, but not, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes,
I do. To get that different drive to please. Yes. If I wanted a dog as a pet to go everywhere with me, to just be in my life, 100% I would go with another Prada.
Yeah. Yeah. By master training Harry, I would go for fully stable again because I love what it brings.
Yeah.
But it's hard getting used to things like the slower retrieve, because I've just never had that in a dog. My Italian Greyhound is faster retrieving a dumbbell than Harry. You're a Malinois, buddy. Pick it up. Huh. But if I manage to get his power in his retrieval, sometimes I do. Today I did. And when he actually goes full throttle, oh my goodness, it's breathtaking, like absolutely breathtaking. There's something about him doing it for all the right reasons at Mach 2 versus that, what we're talking about, that little bit of instability that makes him fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like when he's fully going, you see every muscle in him ripping and his toes are flexing, like every part of him is going full out. It's amazing. But I've only ever seen that twice.
in, in his 4 years. Oh,
Oh,
poor
Harry.
Harry.
He's only 3. Don't rush him. I guess he's 3.5.
I thought he
But
was
we're
older.
getting there.
I thought he was older than Prada.
No, he's getting there. He's always improving, and I see him changing so much almost weekly now.
Yeah,
I think he may just be super slow to mature. I'm going to use that
yeah.
as my excuse here.
Go with
None
that.
of this is my learning. It's all the dog.
I do find with these more stable dogs, they still have the work ethic. Like it's very much still there wanting to do the job,
Oh,
but
absolutely.
they don't feel the need to put in that crazy effort. They're like,
Yes.
I am doing the job that I was tasked to do.
Yes.
I see it in my healing. You see it
Yes.
in your retrieves. My retrieves I don't have an issue with. It's my healing that she goes, we're healing now. I'm in position. I'm healing. And I want her to go, yeah, we're healing now.
But
And
I see with Prada now, I haven't healed with her and you in a year now. So this may be old news. But what I saw in Prada before was her push to try and control you versus harmony with you.
yes,
Yes, she was pushing like that. The desire was there, but to do it her own way, not yours.
100%. And you had
Is that
pointed out
still an issue, or have you gotten over that?
it's improved. I'm not going to say it's gone,
Yeah.
but you had pointed out last year or the year before that she was putting in all of this effort, but in her own things. Like she'd come out of the car and she'd be leaping, putting all this effort into bounce, let's go do, let's go do, let's go do. And then when we would go out to do, she'd be like, okay, now I'm healing.
Yeah.
So she was using all of that energy in the build-up rather than,
In the wrong exercises.
yes, yeah,
And
yeah,
similar with Harry, I'm having to harness it where I don't want it to put it where I do want it.
yeah, yeah. It's a different learning curve for sure. It's not what I'm used to working with.
And I do believe, though, this is what makes people dog trainers. You get the dog and you learn how to train that dog. And then you get the next dog and you learn how to train that dog.
Yeah,
So I've been doing my sport for a long time, and I've been teaching obedience, like competition obedience, for forever. I have never met a dog like Harry before. But there's a piece of me too. I will not give up on him because I'm so determined to get it. Like I know it's in there
yeah,
and it's coming bit by bit, but I won't give up on my dream picture. And as I say that, he scores very high because he's accurate. Like he understands what I need and he gets the job done. But he's missing that dynamite shooting out of his ass.
yeah,
And I want that dynamite. I won't compromise on that. So I'm keep pushing and pushing for that. But by saying pushing, I'm not demanding it from him. I am creating games and other ways, and I'm making sure I'm putting the energy in to get it out
yeah.
of him.
It'll come. We've,
It is.
we've
We're getting
seen
there.
it. It's
It's
just,
just a couple of places that we're not fully there yet, but we're getting there. Yeah.
yep, definitely.
What did Punch teach you?
I don't think we have, well, no, I was going to say we don't have enough time, but all of the things Punch taught me were wonderful.
Punch taught you how to win.
Yeah, Punch taught me how to win. She also, Punch had a different temperament where if she made a mistake, she immediately believed it was her fault. So I had to learn that if she messed something up, I had to take responsibility for that. Because if I let her think that it was her fault, that was hard for her to come out of. She taught me how to read, I guess, forgiveness in a dog. And she was very forgiving of my mistakes. Just if she thought it was her own mistake, then it was a problem. So if she screwed something up and I went, she'd be like, oh dear, the world is crashing in on me. So it made me have to learn to change my training methods.
Yep.
And then Sizzle taught me 8 million things that we didn't have enough time this summer to go through them. But she did teach me the most of any dog I've had.
She certainly did.
Yeah.
Pippa taught me to be lighter.
Mm-hmm.
Pippa has really taught me to control my mind and think what I'm wanting. Like, see the picture in my head right as I'm asking her to do it.
Okay.
So Pippa requires very great clarity from my mind, which is hard for me as I tend to be a wee bit frantic, especially if stuff's going sideways with sheep and that, which happens with sheep. I need to see that picture and be calm. What else has Miss Pippa taught me? Gosh, I think she's taught me about how amazing a border collie can be and helping me run off-leash social groups with dogs. Look at a dog.
She has spoiled you.
She has spoiled me. She really has. She's amazing. If a dog's misbehaving, I can look at them. So if I'm doing an off-leash social, two dogs are playing, chasing each other, and the dog from behind gets too intense, and I can see it from the dog's he's chasing body language. Pippa will pick up on that, and she'll be in there and separating the two dogs like way faster than I can get there. She's amazing. So I think she's taught me how much a good border collie is capable of, but she also really taught me how to build and build and build because she was not born this dog. Clearly, she was born this dog, but I had to put my work in to get her to this point, or she would have never had the confidence to make these bold decisions. She would have stayed always asking, what next, mother?
Which I think when you just said she was born this dog, I'm not sure that I agree with you because I think the dog she was born was that one that would have spent her life saying, what do I need to do next? You've
Yeah.
created that confidence in her.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a facade because without you, it would go. Same as Sizzle. If she went with someone else, she'd be like, I don't know how to deal with life because they get so much from us.
Which is just it. Whenever you're building confidence in a dog, once again, it's that partnership. It's that the two of you, Pippa learned to be confident with me.
Yeah.
She did not necessarily learn to be confident. And I only see that if I have to send her somewhere for boarding. If something happens where I'm not involved, you suddenly see who Pippa once was, but it doesn't show anymore in her life. If it's normal day-to-day life, you would never know it was there. You would
Right.
think she was an incredibly strong, bold bitch.
Yep.
And she is, so long as we're together.
Yep.
And that's what dog training is about. I think she sums up this whole podcast. Not just the dog must change. Like, I had to change to get her to this point.
Yep.
And our relationship together keeps her at that point.
Yep. And it's a good feeling when you, not that we want to have to build our dogs all the time, but it's when you see the change that you can make in a relationship or by changing your relationship, changing your part of it. It's a good feeling to see that you can do that. I
Yep.
think people that are always training the exact same type of dog are missing out. Because, yeah, they'll continue to train and they'll continue to, if they're in competitions, they'll continue to compete and win. But they're not learning what they could be learning by getting something that's totally different.
Yep.
Be it
My
breed.
belief is if it has two hips, two elbows, and a functional spine, you train it and you compete with it.
Yeah.
That's my belief. Thank you, Peter and Connie, for instilling that in me, though I think that may have been in me anyway. If I'm lucky enough to get a healthy German Shepherd that's able to do the sport, I'm going to compete with that dog.
Yeah.
I can fix almost anything else in there.
Yep. True, true. If they're structurally sound, that you can't do much about if they're not. But all the other things you have the ability to tweak and change.
Yep. And I think the hardest part of getting a good German Shepherd is getting a sound German Shepherd.
Mm-hmm.
If they are sound, I'm training it.
Yep.
That's my rule.
Yep. What else?
What other dogs are around us that we're seeing this? Trying to think of dogs I've recently had in board and train and stuff like that. I do think with behavior, it's always a little bit of give and take, is a little bit of a compromise. You are going to have to change some of the stuff you are doing so that your dog can change some of the stuff that he is doing.
That's how it should be. Absolutely.
I think there is a disconnect to this, though, nowadays where dogs are being bullied with equipment and training without feel, and they are expected to do it all. And it just doesn't sit right in my stomach.
Yeah.
Is at the cost of all their happiness and
And it's not fair to expect one side of a partnership to change, which is what you said in the beginning. It's like any other relationship. If you're not in harmony, then you both need to make some changes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Dogs make us better people. We must always remember that. And when you're really struggling with one, try and see what it is that you need to change to make that dog who you need them to be.
Yeah.
Or what is it you need to shift to get what it is you're wanting from them? Because there's always a way.
If you have the ability to look at it that way, is this something I need to change in me, or is this something I need to change in the dog? If you can be honest with yourself about that and make the appropriate changes, then everything will improve.
And again, it does go down to breed selection, to picking suitable breeds and dogs for you. Because my one client that's currently struggling with her breed choice that she has, it was a terrible breed choice, period, let alone for her lack of presence.
Yeah.
To succeed with this type of dog, you must be much more black and white,
You have to know what you're getting in.
clear. Yeah, you need experience to be able to succeed with certain breeds of dogs, this being one of them. And if you're inexperienced and if you're lacking confidence, there are many breeds that you should not be touching.
Which is going to be many of our upcoming podcasts.
Yes, it's going to be all of the working breeds, maybe not all, but many of the working, probably many of the herding. You're probably safer within the toy group, safer with some of the miscellaneous, safer with some of the hounds.
And yeah, hounds still, you got to look to whether or not you're going to be willing to deal with a scent hound that's going to put its nose down and go, or is it going to chase everything it sees moving? Like
She would
all
not
of
be suitable for a scent hound. No, the client I'm mentioning currently.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Not even close. But there are some hounds that might have been suitable for her. I think a whippet would be a fun choice for her.
Love me a good whippet. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's going to be upcoming podcasts discussing the genetics of the different breeds and who they
Genetics count.
100%.
Genetics count. And it depends what your dog was bred for, what you need to have within your own character to be able to succeed with them.
Yep.
And discipline alone ain't going to get you there. Sometimes there's more than just discipline that's needed.
I worked with a veterinarian who had somebody come in with their golden retriever. They had booked an appointment because there was something wrong with the dog, because it would scream whenever they came home and put shoes in its mouth. And they thought something was wrong with it. I'm like, you shouldn't have got a retriever if you didn't expect it to have something in its mouth, and a lot of them make noise when they're doing that. So they
Yeah.
went into it completely unaware of what they might see in this dog. And that was a minor issue. It wasn't anything that needed to be really corrected. They just had to accept that was their dog.
Wouldn't their breeder have told them that? I guess they never discussed it with their breeder.
I guess it depends on what their breeder was. When I got Punch, my breeder told me not to encourage the singing. And I said, but I love the singing. And she said, you will get it regardless from this line. Don't encourage it.
Can you not encourage it in Prada anymore? I love it less than you do.
Oh, I don't love it when it gets crazy over the top.
Sorry, picking on Prada.
Stop picking on my perfect Prada.
Yes, perfect.
Yeah.
All right. I guess we can close. Thank you, Jill. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Hopefully, you're still with us listening.
I felt like it was morphing, but then I realized that no, although we were talking about our own dogs, we were still discussing the changes that we had to make to get to a successful spot. Or
Ooh, you know the dog I forgot? What did Reggie teach me? I can tell you. His lessons were so clear. He was a handful. I got Reggie when he was 6 months old.
Reggie taught you to do better.
He'd been through multiple homes, and it was within days of having him. I am naturally a ADHD, very fast and active and a bit frantic in my head, a bit frantic, very frantic in my head. And Reggie, within 2, 3 days, had fixed it. Like he suddenly had me calm and thoughtful. So I think I was like 40 at the time. So I've lived 40 years being this way. And with 2 or 3 good corrections from Reggie, he'd fixed it. So once again, if anyone says corrections don't work, they are wrong. They are definitely wrong. Because Reggie changed my lifetime behavior in 2 or 3 corrections from him.
Yeah. And you
And
still loved him, and you were successful with him.
oh, yeah, very much. And those lessons are still with me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Reggie taught me instantly to be more aware and thoughtful of my movements. If I was just going to have flailing arms or things like that, he was going to bite them. So, I just became aware of my arms and aware of what I was doing with my body. And he taught me that in 2 or 3 lessons. So, that I think the biggest one from Reggie. And then he taught me to be super aware of what I'm projecting and to be clear in communication and that less is more. He didn't want much from me, but what he needed had to be calm and clear.
Good boy, Reggie.
Yeah, he made me a much better dog person, a much better dog person.
And you've forgotten Johnny again.
I never really got to go with Johnny. That's why I'm not.
That's true.
Johnny injured himself for 7 or 8 months, and then I spent 2 years trying to rehab him. So we never got to this point. So
Yeah.
no, I didn't forget Johnny. I never got to do any of the stuff I wanted to do with Johnny because he was injured and still is. So yes, Johnny got retired, and that's probably also partly why I feel so strongly about if your dog has 2 hips and 2 elbows and a solid spine, you learn how to train them.
Yep.
You don't get to wash these working dogs. You will become a much better trainer by sticking with what you have. And I think when you stick with what you have, it changes you as a trainer, as in you learn to think more creatively. And it's more of a, what do I do now to get this? Versus the dog isn't good enough. They must move on.
Yeah. Yeah. Put the effort in. You will feel so successful if you put the effort in when you hit those milestones rather than just passing along another dog and starting over again.
It's funny, like Reggie, I never felt successful with Reggie the whole way along. And then I look at one of my performances at Worlds. He was fantastic. But he never gave me an inch. So it was just like we just had to keep plugging and plugging. He never gave me anything for free. I had to earn everything I got from Reggie. Yeah,
He was a good boy.
he was. He was a very good boy. Thank you for talking with me, Jill.
You're welcome. Now I have to go back to my hard job.
All right.
See you next Tuesday.
Thank you. Good night.